3.5 hours from disaster. A shift worker begins a routine cleaning operation, but pipes are clogged and he floods the system. Water gushes through a recently installed shortcut, straight towards giant underground storage tanks, full of the highly volatile pesticide ingredient MIC. Metal plates that should isolate the chemical are missing. En route to the tank, the water collects traces of iron from rust inside the aging pipes. 2 hours, 15 minutes from disaster. The first drop of water seeps through a broken valve and into tank E610, containing 42 tons of liquid MIC, far more than is recommended. The water and iron mixture triggers a violent and unstoppable reaction within the MIC. With no refrigeration to keep it cool, its temperature rockets. 1 hour from disaster. The liquid MIC begins to boil. Workers smell gas and report it, but it's dismissed as a minor leak. As more and more liquid turns to gas, pressure soars in the tank. In the control room, faulty gauges show little change until suddenly readings shoot off the scale. "35 minutes from disaster. Control room operator Suman Day witnesses the runaway reaction firsthand as the spiraling pressure blows the tank's safety valve and cracks its concrete storage bunker. High-pressure MIC hurtles into the vent gas scrubber. Workers expected to neutralize escaping gas, but it's out of action. Even if it was working, it's only designed to cope with minor leaks. Tons of superheated MIC rush straight through it. 15 minutes from disaster. The toxic gas streams past the flare tower, a backup safety system that should burn off escaping gas. It's also out of action, and lethal MIC bursts into the night sky. 10 minutes from disaster. In a last-ditch attempt to neutralize the escaping gas, plant workers turn on emergency water cannons. They are woefully underpowered and cannot reach the venting gas. 1 a.m., December 3rd, 1984. A lethal cloud of MIC gas, one of the most toxic substances on Earth, descends on Bhopal and its 500,000 residents, killing 3,000 people in a matter of hours. In addition to the immediate deaths, the Indian government says a further 15,000 later died as a direct result of the disaster. To this day, more than 500,000 have suffered ill health from inhaling the gas or from the knock-on effects of continual pollution.
"4 minutes to disaster. Unaware that the bow doors are wide open, Captain Lurie ups the Herald's speed half a knot to 18 knots. In the shallow water of Zeebrugge's harbor, this makes the bow wave dramatically bigger. 90 seconds to disaster. 2,000 tons of water flood the ship's open car deck. 60 seconds to disaster. As the water surges across the car deck, passengers feel a violent lurch. Now the wave starts to carry cars and trucks with it. 30 seconds to disaster. The ship tilts 30 degrees to the left. It's the point of no return. The ship turns on her side to lie half submerged in the icy waters of the North Sea. 7 weeks after the tragedy, salvage tugs tow the Herald to port. The final death toll is 193, including 38 crew members. The investigators' final report finds that the Herald's loss is largely down to human error. Captain David Lurie is suspended for a year. First Officer Leslie Sable for 2 years. And the man who failed to close the bow doors, Assistant Bosun Mark Stanley, is found seriously negligent, but escapes further punishment. The report finds that ultimately, poor management by the Herald's owner, Townsend Torreson, is to blame. The British Department of Transport hits the company with a £400,000 fine.
"21 minutes to disaster. A wire in the attic arcs, igniting metallized mylar. The pilots smell something strange, but think it's an air conditioning problem. 18 minutes to disaster. Seeing smoke, they decide to land and head towards Halifax. 16 minutes to disaster. Air conditioning fans suck the attic fire towards the back of the plane. This clears smoke from the cockpit. 11 minutes to disaster. While looping to lose height, the pilots choose to detour further and dump fuel over the ocean. They don't know what's happening in the attic. Eight minutes to disaster. The captain cuts power to the cabin. This shuts down the air conditioning fans, allowing the Inferno to rage directly above the cockpit. 7 minutes to disaster. The blaze destroys the autopilot system, forcing the pilots to fly manually. Only now do they realize the enormity of the problem. Investigators suspect Captain Zimmerman fights the fire, leaving First Officer Lerv to fly the stricken plane. 6 minutes to disaster. The fire disables the flight displays, communications with air traffic control, and the black boxes. In the searing heat, First Officer Lerv struggles to keep control. But the plane is no longer flyable. All 229 passengers and crew are dead.
Four, 3,
73 seconds to disaster.
1.
The solid rocket boosters ignite. Inside the right booster, the O-rings have been hardened by the freezing temperatures and are unable to keep the lowermost field joint sealed. They start to burn away.
And liftoff. Liftoff.
As superhot gases escape, small pieces of aluminium slag from the rocket fuel build up and block the hole, preventing a catastrophe on the launch pad. 15 seconds to disaster as Challenger enters a fast-moving yet very narrow jet stream. It is shaken violently. The aluminium slag is dislodged. Almost immediately, a flame appears on the right solid rocket booster. Eight seconds to disaster. With blowtorch intensity, the flame penetrates the external tank, and liquid hydrogen starts to spill out. 1 second to disaster. The attachment between the booster and the tank breaks free, and the entire bottom section of the tank gives way. The Inferno thrusts the hydrogen compartment upwards into the oxygen-filled container, just as the nose of the booster crashes into the top of the external tank. Nearly 2 million liters of fuel combust instantaneously. The shuttle breaks apart. For Childs, it's a sobering end to his investigation. It could have all been so different. He is certain that had the wind not been so strong, the slag could have remained in place. The booster pressure would have remained normal, and 2 minutes into flight, the rocket boosters would have disengaged and separated from the shuttle. Challenger and its crew would have then been safely on their way to space.
Confirm good solid rocket booster separation.
If the aluminium slag had only hung on for another 62 seconds, the astronauts might be alive today.